Hey everyone, welcome to your first video lecture for college algebra. In this sequence of videos, we're going to be discussing how to solve quadratics and the quadratic formula. For many of you, this may be review, but these are skills that we're going to use time and time again throughout the whole semester. So we want to make sure that we really have our skills mastered when it comes to quadratics. So without further ado, let's start off with just defining what a quadratic actually is. A quadratic is nothing more than just an expression that looks like ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are just numbers. So some common examples are expressions such as x squared plus 1, x squared plus pi x plus 5. We can have a number different than 1 in front of the x squared, so we could have something such as 7x squared, plus we can also have fractions, so 5/3 x plus 2. And then whenever we do examples, it's also important to do non-examples to see what isn't included in the definition. So some non-examples of quadratics or equations such as x plus 2. To be a quadratic, you must have that x squared term. So therefore, x plus 2 is not a quadratic. X cubed plus 2x squared plus 1 has the x squared term in it, but it also has an x cubed. We're not allowed it to have any powers higher than 2 in a quadratic. So therefore, this expression is not a quadratic. And a quadratic equation is just simply an equation that only involves quadratics. So it's an equation that looks like ax squared plus bx plus c equals something like px squared plus rx plus s, where a, b, c, p, r, and s are just numbers. That would be given to you in the problem. So some examples are something like 2x squared plus 3x plus 1 equals 2x. And we'll notice on the right-hand side, it doesn't actually have to be a quadratic, just so long as long as one side of the equation has a quadratic. And one thing we can always do when we have a quadratic equation is we can take one side and subtract it to the other. So we can actually rewrite this by just subtracting 2x on both sides and rewriting it as 2x squared plus x plus 1 equals 0. And we can also go a little bit further and factor out the constant out in front and divide it out. So this can be rewritten as factoring 2 from that whole equation. So 2 times x squared plus 1/2 x plus 1/2 equals 0. And then dividing the 2. So that way we have x squared plus 1/2 x plus 1/2 equals 0. So that was by dividing 2. And because we can always do this subtracting to one side and then dividing the constant in front of the x squared term, we are most interested in solving equations that look like x squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So now we can actually work with a much more simplified form of the equation where we assume the constant in front of x squared is 1 and the whole equation is equal to 0. All right, so in the next videos, we're going to actually start learning how to solve these equations.